we want to remember him. He's still quite alive, but we want to remember him in perpetuity with a special scholarship fund we're calling the Gene Shea Folk DJ Scholarship Fund. It's to bring a new folk DJ to Folk Alliance every year. And there's a couple of ways you can help. You can donate to the Folk Alliance through the website, however you wish to do it, or you can nominate a young folk DJ who you think should be considered for the scholarship fund. All the information will be on the Folk Alliance International website at folk.org. So we hope that you'll support the Gene Shea DJ Scholarship Fund and make his name part of our tradition. And now I'd like to welcome the Executive Director of Folk Alliance International, Angus Finnan.
Good afternoon, folks. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be your executive director, and thrilled that you've gathered here today with us to celebrate one of the luminaries of our community. Before introducing our keynote speaker today, we're going to share one of the projects that was launched last year and continue this year, and certainly we hope to continue it year to year, which is our Artist in Residency program. And for those of you who were here last year, you'll recall that we partnered Nashville-based artist Brandy Zidane with the Kansas City Ballet in the creation and collaboration of a new work that was launched at their New Moves Festival. This year, we approached and partnered with the National World War I Museum and Monument, and they came on board, and I really do need to thank Laura Vogt for, as the KC Ballet did last year, this year taking a leap of faith and partnering with an organization who promised to bring in a folk singer to create art from their archives. Our artist this year was given access to the unreleased digital archives and letters of local residents involved in World War I. I'll let him explain it in depth, but what it results in is the creation of a piece of work that stands alone outside of the career of an artist, outside of the place in industry, and brings to life the story of someone like so many whose stories could have disappeared into time. And if that isn't the heart of folk music, I don't know what is. So I would like to welcome to the stage the National World War I Museum and Memorials Director of Strategic Engagement, Linda Trout, to introduce our artists in residence this year and share some thoughts from their perspective on this residency program.
Good afternoon. The National World War I Museum and Memorial, which is located right across the street, is America's museum dedicated to remembering, interpreting, and understanding the Great War. That war, from June 1914 through November 1918, was history's first global conflict. It involved not only Europe, but countries from every inhabited continent. From the vantage point of history, 100 years later, there is consensus that the Great War changed everything. Over 37 million casualties and millions of men, women, and children were killed or injured and suffered from its after effects. Empires were lost, national boundaries were reshaped, economies were devastated. Understanding the facts of the Great War through current events and numbers is vitally necessary, but certainly not sufficient. Expressions of feeling and memory through the arts are one of the best ways for making the events of a century ago meaningful for today's audiences. The National World War I Museum collaborates with the Kansas City Symphony, the Kansas City Ballet, the Kansas City Repertory Theater, the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, and several other arts groups to more fully communicate the reverberations of war. imparting essential truths of the First World War, as well as of all wars, is the joint work of the National World War I Museum and Memorial and artists working yesterday and today. In that regard, it is my privilege now to welcome this year's Artist in Residence, Joe Crookston.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you, Angus. It takes a lot to get me into a suit coat, and this would be the moment. I want to really give a big shout and thank you to Angus. He called me a couple months ago and said, Joe, I'd like you to come. Would you like to come to Folk Alliance and be an artist and create and bring your gifts in whatever form you'd like. Bring your paintings, and I'd like you to collaborate possibly with the World War I Museum and create art. And I thought about it for 2 seconds, and I said, yes, I have no idea what I'm doing, but yes, I will be there, and nothing means more to me than that. So thank you to Folk Alliance and for inviting me to do this. And basically saying, be the best artist you can be. Dig in, learn, grow, and present to the community something that you are inspired by. And I couldn't be more thrilled. And my daughter My daughter was born on March 8th, which is International Women's Day. And so we were determined to raise an I am woman, hear me roar daughter. And it's getting a little out of control at our house. And she helped me. You're going to see a video, and she's one of my videographers now. So I collaborated not only with the World War I Museum, but my daughter. And I'd like to just say that she was part of this project. And for me, what happened is I got to look at letters and archived footage and field recordings. And I told the museum right away, if I work on a collaboration, I know that I want it to be a human story. That's what I feel is where my power or where my most interest is, in the human universal story. And I'm not saying that I'm not interested in World War I, but I would say that for me that human story is greater than that story. And for the leading and the reading the letters led me to a woman named Florence Hemphill. And doing this project with my daughter as celebrating this strong woman who was, and women in general were not written in the history books as much. The nurses in World War I, it's a lot about the soldiers, which makes sense, but women have gotten overlooked. And I thought, that's not going to happen in my project. And I felt like I wanted to celebrate and honor Florence Hemphill as a woman and as a nurse, and have my daughter grow up in a world where she can be honored and celebrated as a strong woman. So I would like to say that Florence Hemphill, the niece, Florence Hemphill's niece, Catherine Carter, is in the audience here. And I'd like to welcome her to the community, to say that the name Hemphill is a Scottish name. And she mentioned a lot about her tartan, and was given a kilt by one of the soldiers when she was in France. And I've been learning how to play the fiddle, and I thought I would begin by a little fiddle music in somewhat of a bagpipe Scottish tradition. And then eventually you can turn your attention over here to a short video, and I'll sing you a song. So thank you very much, and I really appreciate being here with you all.